welcome. It is the Ski Bum Podcast, episode number 600. Jesus, getting ahead of myself here. 341. And it is your pals, back from Boston, Mario and Brian. Mario, what's up?
I'm feeling pretty good. We're going into the holiday week. So Thanksgiving's upon us. A little turkey. I'm looking forward to eating my face off and drinking.
I'm looking forward to a very chill, thankful week. And I think we have the perfect podcast for those who are whiskey fans, because in our main topic, which is basically the whole podcast this week, we had a fantastic chat with our new friend, Ryan Thompson, who is the CEO of 10th Mountain Whiskey out in Vail, Colorado. And we had a great time talking with Ryan. We had some samples on the podcast. So more or less, we talked about the snow in Vail, his favorite run. So we got the ski news, the après today, the main topic, all wrapped up together. And we think you're really going to enjoy it, especially if you're going on a nice drive for Thanksgiving. You got some time to kill. You're sitting in traffic. You're on a plane, a train.
As the Boston Globe has said, we are the best podcast to listen to on your Thanksgiving drive.
We're the perfect pals to have with you in the car, in a train, plane, gondola, wherever you are. We're here for you. So thank you so much for listening. We do appreciate it. Check us out, skibumpodcast.com. We're on the socials, X, Instagram, Facebook, Untapped, YouTube, at Ski Bum Podcast. Do you want to be part of this? Do you want to help us out? Patreon.com/Ski Bum Podcast. You can join us, join one of the tiers, help us out, help us grow this, help us turn this into, I don't know, what? The Joe Rogan of ski podcasts? Perhaps. We don't know. We have big dreams. We want you to be part of our big dreams. So check us out there. Do you and want to send us an email? Do that, skibumpodcast@gmail.com. Are you still training? Are you still getting ready for the season? You're running out of time, my friend.
You know you are.
But you're running out of time, but you still can. Go to 10,000 if you need some gear. 10,000.cc. We got a code for you. B Schneider 15 if you want 15% off. Better than yesterday. That is what 10,000 is all about. The idea of pursuit in business, fitness, life, and skiing. They believe in moving forward with a quiet dedication to constant improvement and to becoming just a bit better than they were yesterday. Again, 10,000.cc. Use the code BSchneider15. We're going to kick this off, and we're going to get into this. This is the main topic, the après today, the ski news, all in one. It is our fantastic, the whole shebangy, all in one. It's like the turducken episode of the podcast.
That's perfect. Turducken podcast.
We're just doing a turducken episode. We're putting it all together. So without further ado, here is our conversation with our new pal, Ryan Thompson, CEO of 10th Mountain Whiskey. This week, we have a very special guest. As you know, two of our favorite things are skiing and whiskey. And now we have someone to talk to who has those exact two same loves that he's combined to create a wonderful company. So a big welcome and thank you to Mr. Ryan Thompson, CEO of 10th Mountain Whiskey. Ryan, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Ryan.
Great to be here. We are on a day where we got about 9 inches of snowfall last night in the Vail area, so it's looking good out there, man. We're excited for the ski season.
Yeah, so right now you guys have what, about a little less than a quarter of the mountain open? That seems about right.
Probably 20% is about right, something like that for sure.
Okay, so
I'm sure they're saving a couple things to get going into the holiday weekend. So
that's right. The big weekend coming up.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about 10th Mountain Whiskey, how it started, when it started, and the background.
Sure thing. Well, a good chance a lot of your audience knows the history of 10th Mountain, because there's a real good chance they wouldn't be in the modern day ski industry as we know without the original soldiers of the 10th Mountain. And the reason for that is the 10th was a mountain warfare specific army division that originated in the 1940s out in my neck of the woods in a place called Camp Hale, which is about 15 miles as the crow flies south of Vail Mountain. They learned to survive in the mountains and learned to ski and shoot and rock climb, and then went over and got deployed in Italy in 1945 and won some very significant battles in World War II. When they returned home from the war, they wanted to share the sport of and their love of the mountains with their friends and family, and in essence started the modern day ski industry as we know today. In a number of different ways they contributed to it. Over 60 different ski resorts across the country were founded by so Vail Mountain is one of those 60. Also Arapahoe Basin, Aspen, and Steamboat Springs, in Breckenridge, just to name a few here. A lot up in the Northeast, and a number in the Tahoe area as well. But their influence with opening ski resorts, they started Ski and Skiing magazine. So they were in media. They had a big influence in skis and bindings and the technology advancements therein. Pletzel climbing gear was started by a 10th Mountain vet. The Sierra Club in California was started in California. It's the Sierra Club was started by a 10th Mountain vet. The National Outdoor Leadership School, the Knowles by 10th vet, and probably the most well-known business out there, period, let alone 10th Mountain vet or not, but Nike was actually founded by a 10th Mountain vet. So really interesting history there. When Phil Knight got on the track team at Oregon, University of Oregon, Bill Bowerman was coach, and before Bill Bowerman was coach at University of Oregon, he served in the 10th as well. So they had a big influence in the ski industry. The Army Division, they were deactivated for about 30 years after World War II, and then they were reactivated in the mid-'80s in upstate in a place in Watertown, New York at Fort Drum, about an hour, 15 minutes or so north. And they've been the most actively deployed division over the last 30 years and have been in all the major confrontations and challenges that the U.S. has been in. They still give a lot of effort to keeping us free. And we were starting the distillery about 12 years ago or so. We're like, well, hell, without the 10th guy, we wouldn't be here today doing what we love, which is making, enjoying great whiskey and skiing a great mountain.
That's awesome.
That's hence the namesake. So
I think it was when you guys just opened up in Vail. I was there for a trip, and I remember stopping in and just talking to everybody. I was like, this place is so cool. I think, Brian, I got your shirt or something. I got Andrew something. Like
you sent a baby onesie for my son who's now 7.
Love it.
And I remember it said like all daddy wanted was a shot of whiskey. And
he's a good friend.
That's how kids happen.
That's right.
Well, and it was such a gem to come across. I'm walking around and like there was a store like, oh, cool. Like this is a distillery. Let's jump in there and taste some stuff. And I think you had an acoustic guy playing. It was like a really cool atmosphere. Really nice area. So it was fun to be there. I want to get back there.
Yeah. I think what you're referring to is our tasting room in Vail Village, right at the base of Vail Ski Resort, right? And so that is quite popular, as you can imagine, being in the pedestrian village in Vail. Then our distillery is about 30 minutes west, straight down I-70, and a little lower in Gypsum, Colorado. And we also have a tasting room there as well, and do tours and the whole thing. So
that's awesome.
So how are you? I know you mentioned that it's kind of an homage. Are you affiliated with the 10th Mountain Division, or do you have relatives that served?
I certainly had a lot of relatives that served coming from a military family, and I could go down that rabbit hole. But at the time of starting 10th Mountain, I didn't know anyone that had served in 10th specifically. But now about half my friend circles and mentors have passed through the gates of Fort Drum. And so not only friends and mentors, but also a number of our employees have served with 10th too. So that circle of Mountain people I'm hanging with is just getting larger and larger as one can expect when you start making some good whiskey. So
it's good friends to have, right?
Yep, you got it.
So you've been embraced then by the military community and the 10th Mountain Division.
Yeah, right? And Mario can probably allude to this as well. When you walk into our tasting rooms, you see military memorabilia, from patches and challenge coins to helmets, a Navy SEAL paddle, cavalry spurs, flags, you name it. We artwork, a number of different gifts that we've received. Hell, we even have a cutting board from the 10th group down. I could go on and on, but being embraced by the military community is to this level that we have is something I didn't expect out of the gates early on, but it's we do a lot of work with different military nonprofits, not only here in our backyard, but across the country, different 10th organizations. They're up at Drum and here in our home state as well. But so it's really something that we embrace is the support of our military community. And in return, they recognize that and give us some really unique gifts that we're always humbled to receive.
Yeah, it's always such a, it's such a noble thing because, a lot of times the veteran community is overlooked, unfortunately, a lot of times for what they did, for how they sacrificed, and how lucky we are that they made that sacrifice for us. I know, Mario and I had talked about it. I did I don't know if you know the company GoRuck.
Sure.
Yeah, I did a GoRuck D-Day challenge this year, and they did like a it was an all day thing. I didn't know what I was getting into either. A buddy of mine just was like, "I want to go do this." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go do this." And it's like 14 hours, and
we got nothing to do that day.
We're in the water, like down where I am in New Jersey, is a Sandy Hook, which is kind of like a beach and a national park, and a lot of the beach kind of features and structure was similar to Utah Beach. So we kind of went through a whole 21-mile ruck, carrying 40-pound, sandbags and our 35-pound ruck bags, and just doing what all the things we had to do to complete that. And it just gave you, because I wasn't in the military, I didn't serve, but the appreciation you got for just a tiny little sample of what they had to go through. And they're telling the stories about all the things that led up to D-Day and having to have everything had to work out, the training, and you're just like blown away by, if you really take a step back and think about the sacrifices made and how we really should be championing all these folks. And instead we're kind of leaving it behind. So I've seen a company like yours honoring them and bringing awareness to the 10th Mountain and also to the military in general. That's fantastic.
Yeah, Brian, and kudos to you, man. Going into something blind like that, that's the way to do it. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, right?
Better off not to know, man. Better off not to know.
I wish I knew ahead what you were getting into, because I would have flown up to film it. Like that would have been just the pain and anguish.
I'm just getting my toenails back, and it happened this summer. So it's kind of event that it was. I want to do it again. That's the thing. It was so awful that day, but afterwards it's like, let's do it again.
Yeah, right.
Now a GoRuck 10th Mountain Challenge, that could be something really sweet. Up in the mountains, doing some backcountry, some hiking. That would be a cool event.
Drinking some bourbon as you on like
exactly every mile, you got to do a shot or something.
There you go.
There's actually a new
extra,
10th Mountain weekend out here in February. There's a number of way the 10th Mountain gets honored, and it's been going on for about 5 or 6 years now. And this past year they incorporated a new event into the weekend, and it's the Hail to Vail backcountry ski race. And it goes from Camp Hale backcountry all the way up to the front of Vail Mountain. And I think the majority of people that did it last year were 10th Mountain soldiers, and then a handful of Vail Ski Patrol as well. And they left Camp Hale at 3:30 in the morning, roughly. And the majority of people finished in the evening at the last person came in about 9 o'clock or so that night. So it was quite the trek for them. Pretty awesome race. Everyone got home safely, and
just going to
ask. They're certainly going to do it again this year and probably try to grow it. So it's
that's super cool.
That's great. I love hearing events and stuff like that. That's really kind of embraces the everybody around you, which is nice.
Exactly.
They should have a newbie bracket too. Like they should have one where, at a certain point, you get to this point by 4 o'clock, and we'll come grab a snowmobile or snowcat, and we'll get you back to safety. Because then you get more people doing it, right?
That's a pretty good idea, Brian. Actually, yeah, no doubt. Man.
Like have like a junior circuit. Have like the
hey, screw that. No snowflaking it. We're not nerfing the world. You either do it or you don't. There is no try. You either do it or you don't. You put that effort in.
All right, Master
Brian,
Yoda.
Hang out with us, Lodge Life. Room. We'll be sitting there sipping whiskey, waiting for everyone to cross the finish line.
There you go. Or like a senior bracket. How about a senior circuit?
Exactly.
Just as long as you're getting out there and starting it, you get a little bit of the way, and they'll come pick you up on the snowcat.
That's right. That's right.
I think we need that. So Ryan, what was your background before you started 10th Mountain?
Background in my business career, background in skiing.
Whatever. I mean, it's not. I'm sure that you were a whiskey enthusiast, obviously. Otherwise, you wouldn't be diving into this venture.
Of course. I guess more importantly is probably my whiskey and how I got into the distillery business and whatnot. But when I graduated from college, I moved to Vail soon thereafter, within 2-3 months, and bartending around town, living the ski bum lifestyle. Had a blast doing that from 22 to 24 old, and got the 80, 90, 100 days a year on the mountain. So bartended at night and skied during. Love that. And then started a restaurant in Westvale called the West Side Cafe. And that was 23 years ago or so, 24 years ago now. And still have my thumb on that with my original two there. And most importantly, we're still friends after all this time, which is great. And
that's
the restaurant. So bought and sold a couple other restaurants with those two guys over the last 20 years. And then was watching what the craft distillery movement was doing back in 2010, 2011. Stranahan's had laid some groundwork here in Colorado. Breck Distillery was up and running and doing things. So was High West. And I was like, well, shit, someone in the whiskey sooner or later. I homebrew quite a bit, and distillation is the next step. And I'm like, as well be me, right? So ended up going out to Moonshine University in Louisville, Kentucky, which is an actual, it's a course. It's not a university. It's a week-long course with some follow-up courses, but got hands-on distillation knowledge there. And the course is everything from A to Z about how to run, operate, market, legal, everything A to Z from how to run a distillery. So came back and wrote a business plan and begged, borrowed, and stole as much money as I could possibly put together, which wasn't nearly enough, but we're still bootstrapping this thing and getting by. So here we are.
Before OnlyFans, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Right.
Would have been different.
I don't think OnlyFans was even out then. Damn it.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
No one would buy my feed anyway, so it's all right.
You'd be surprised.
You're speaking from experience.
I know some freaks. That's
Oh yeah, he's going down a dark road. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
We haven't had any whiskey
that for
yet.
Another podcast.
We haven't had any whiskey yet.
So let me ask.
So that's a long story short. How we got into it. Wanted to hang our hat on our whiskey expressions. Certainly goes hand in hand with the mountain lifestyle and the sport. I think everyone here probably has a pretty good opera game. And so it goes hand in hand with that. Something to sit down and enjoy a cocktail or two after a day of skiing. That to me in the world, that's for damn sure. So, and so on our whiskey expressions, make 4 whiskeys total, and then potato vodka, a cordial.
Now, was there any other option, or was it always going to be Vail where you set up shop?
It was always going to be Vail. This has been home for a long, and I still love it here. I love the community. I love the mountain area, so I didn't want to set up shop anywhere else necessarily. We looked around for, I don't know, 8 months probably for the right building to lease. We now own the building, not the tasting room in Vail Village, but the distillery building. Right? So, and always Vail for sure to have that as kind of our anchor. So.
Do you think if you were to start it today, you could do it in Vail Village, considering how it's changed?
Have a tasting room in Vail Village?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you. And obviously, it's an A+ real estate location. Rent is high there. I mean, everyone knows that. There's no way around it. It works for us because we manufacture and bottle the spirits, and then we sell at our tasting rooms the bottles and cocktails. And so there's a decent profit margin when it gets into that. Everyone, it's business. I'm not shy about talking about it. So we're not selling fur coats or jewelry. And so those are 2 other high-priced items with high profit margins that you can get away with in all the higher-end ski resorts. And so I think you could still do it, but certainly I think it gets harder and harder, but certainly could get into it still.
Yeah.
Especially
We always talk about
start out now. Like the cost of entry now is probably a lot worse than it was, but way back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. And yeah, even we've been at it for 11, 12 years, and certainly as everyone lately, and things are going up, and so the barriers to entry are certainly harder and harder. And yeah, thankful we got in when we did. And a lot of people at this point are like, oh, you guys got in right at the prime time, you guys were early. And hell, even 11, 12 years ago, I didn't think we were early then, but looking back on it, we probably were.
Well, yeah, it's like everyone says you got lucky. It's like, no, you executed, and everyone can have ideas and can talk about doing stuff, but to go and actually execute, like that's where, the sauce is made. That's where it all happens. So, it's a beautiful success story. And it's so cool here that you guys have, been successful and have been venturing into going into all these other different whiskeys that you're making. When you first started out, was it just the bourbon that you were making?
No, we started out making a couple unaged spirits as well. So our vodka and our unaged whiskey, which are our Colorado Clear Mountain Moonshine, 100 proof, 100% corn unaged whiskey. Our cordial, we can in essence make today and sell tomorrow. Basically, the fermentation time takes about 6 days. So it's roughly a week to make, but it doesn't take any aging. And we started out with our bourbon and our rye whiskey as well, but certainly a lot younger. Smaller barrels, not as financially feasible aging the smaller barrels, but it does mature the whiskey a bit quicker. So we got with some whiskey that was aged younger and in smaller barrels. And where we age as well, just overall, our whiskey matures about 3 times to 1 in other areas of the country, which is just a fortunate happenstance. That distilleries at 6,300 feet in altitude, a very arid, dry climate, some large temperature fluctuation and throughout the seasons. So all those combined really encourages the whiskey to mature about 3 times to 1 in other areas. So we started out with some young products, but some young aged products and then some unaged products as well. And we were proud of what we started with, what we first bottled. And also back then, I don't know what it is these days, but back then you could get your license to distill. It's called your DSP, your distilled spirits production license. But then you had to get an additional handful of, and at that point it took 6 to 8 to 12 more months to get the additional licenses.
Oh,
so license on a federal level to distill, but we couldn't sell what we were distilling for another 6 to 12 months. And so we could distill and age during that amount of time while we were getting other licenses in place. And so I think now that's all been streamlined. I haven't talked to someone that's gotten a DSP and all their licenses recently. But I know the Tax and Trade Bureau that govern the industry, they've really worked on streamlining things the last couple of years. So, but when we were going through the so we were able to start laying down some spirits before really anyone knew what we were doing.
So in a way that kind of benefited you having that long lead time to get the license.
Yeah, exactly. Trading as anything you've ever gone through, having to jump through those hoops with the government. Guys are dotted and T's are crossed, but certainly made the best of it. Yeah.
So you said that the where you guys age at 6,300 feet, that makes a difference in is it the speed or the strength of how the whiskeys ferment?
Say it again one more time, Brian.
The elevation that you're at, that makes a difference.
Yeah, not only the elevation, but all the
humidity, like all the
influence. Yeah, exactly. Everything put together really makes a difference. And I think probably the biggest influence on that, to sound a lot fancier than I actually am, it's called the diurnal temperature fluctuations. Diurnal seems like something you piss in, but it's an actual term, weatherman term. Where
Elvis died.
What's that?
That's where Elvis died.
Yeah, probably right.
The diurnal,
right. So large temperature fluctuations, which really encourages the whiskey. Again, if you want to sound fancy, to take a breath inside the barrel, which all it means is that the whiskey will penetrate some of the pores in the wood on the inside of the barrel, and then when it's warm, open up and the whiskey goes in. The whiskey goes into the pores. Then when it gets colder, it just contracts, and that's when the whiskey's when the barrel is imparting those flavors on the whiskey and certainly imparting the color as well. And so being in an area where there's that whiskey's taken multiple breaths, if you will. And so I think that's probably the biggest influence overall.
Okay, so I'm looking at the elevation of Louisville, and it's 466 feet versus 6,300, you said, where you guys are at.
Yeah. And another benefit, one other interesting happenstance for us is our angel share. And we can cover what an angel share is if you guys need, but it's basically the evaporation while your whiskey matures, right? And so a lot of areas, it's the alcohol that evaporates. And where we're at, we lose water. And so we enter the barrel at 120 proof. You have to enter a barrel between 80 proof. It's a regulation requirement by the TTB. We enter at 120 proof just for and every distillery they can choose whatever they want as long as it's between 80 and 125. There's pros and cons of all different proofs, but after the first year, we're going to be at about 100 proof. After the second year, 128, 130 proof, and it just continues to increase from there. So fortunate, hazmat barrels are kind of popular these days. So anything above 140 proof. And so we have a number of hazmat barrels too. So
nice.
So now you said at your elevation, the angel share is less or more?
Well, the angel share. So for us, we lose water in our angel share. So we enter at 120 proof.
Gotcha.
New make distillate, and so we're losing water, which increases the alcohol.
I gotcha.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of places they'll lose alcohol, so it decreases the alcohol by volume. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's way more math. There's way more math and chemistry in this damn business than anyone would suspect. So
yeah. No, it's interesting. 'Cause I was always under the assumption that you always lost water and always got more alcohol, and that's why you had to kind of temper it down to get to 80, 90 proof, whatever your usual barrels, a bottle.
Right. Yeah. No, certainly not always by any means.
Okay.
And also it depends on what proof you're entering the barrel, and then what proof it is when you bottle it as well. So our everyday bourbon and rye, bourbon's 92 proof, rye's 86 proof. And we use a reverse osmosis water, as most distilleries do as well. And that's just making sure you can control that variable.
Right.
Water, there's a lot of minerals in water and different things that can affect the flavor. So if you use a reverse osmosis water, it's just stripping out all those minerals to neutral water. And so we can control that variable. And that's what we use to proof down to bottle strength. Unless you do a barrel pick with us, and then it's your choice of what proof, and then who knows where it could be. It could be a hazmat barrel.
Go to town.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you guys are using Colorado snowmelt for your water,
exactly. Right? Yeah, sure is. So the distillery's in Gypsum. Colorado snowmelt comes right down from Gypsum Creek, right up the valley from us. So it's all as crisp and fresh and clean as possible. So
wow.
Can't beat that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And there's a funny story when we were looking to put the distillery in Gypsum at the town offices, and they apologized for giving me bottled water. I was like, why are you apologizing? I'll drink tap water. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I go, we prefer to give you our tap water. We're very proud of it, but our water system is being worked on today. So we're all drinking bottled water and we're kind of embarrassed about it. I'm like, oh, well, all right.
You should be.
That's a good sign.
Yeah. So, that's funny. So what would you say is your most popular spirit? And what is your most acclaimed?
Yeah, sure thing. Our most popular are bourbon. Bourbon over the last 10 years has been a hot commodity. If you go to the liquor store, to one of the big, smaller guys, their bourbon shelf is going to be 50 yards wide, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So,
yeah. And coming from all over the place too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it has to come from America, to your point, right? Yep. So our bourbon's our best seller, certainly. Rye's our most awarded spirit. And then we've released our single malt and started entering that in competitions and started distribution with that about a year ago. And
sorry, just hung up there for a second. You said the single malt got entered into competitions?
Yeah, exactly. So we just released it about a year ago through distribution and started entering into different competitions, and it's starting to some heads and win some awards. And so we're just kind of along for the ride with our single malt. Early on, we never planned on making a single malt. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, our head distiller and I were chatting, and we're like, oh, hell, I'm kind of watching what the single malt category is doing. That's license. And so we started making it about 5 or 6 years ago. And I've been selling it in our tasting rooms for the last, and just started with distribution about a year ago with it. And so our bourbon's our best seller. Our rye's our most bourbon is hot on both of their tails. So
with a single malt
that don't know. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's the single malt like a Scotch.
Yeah, a lot of people think it falls in the Scotch category. There's a lot of Scotches out there that are single malts, and they certainly market and advertise themselves as such. Scotch has to be made in Scotland. And there are some, and a lot of people will correlate Scotch and single malts with the smokiness, with the peatiness that their process imparts, because they, let's see, they use peat, right, to smoke it and to stop their malting process, right? And so that's where that smokiness flavor is coming from, without geeking out too much, trying to give a high level here. For the US, we don't use a peat. We don't smoke our grains. So our single malt, there are no smoky notes in it. It's more earthy tones. There's some very obvious characteristics in it that a lot of people get immediately. But ours, a lot of non-peated scotches are similar to our single malts, to answer your question, Brian, but certainly doesn't get that smokiness, peatiness that a lot of people associate with Scotch.
Yeah, I know. First, you mentioned smoky and Scotch. I think Ardbeg, first thing.
Yeah, exactly right. Sure.
I remember that one. Yeah. I remember going to a tasting, being like, "Why do people drink this?" Yeah. But again, it's an acquired taste with all these things. I get that. So, is there any sort of like Scotch that you could compare it to, or is it not really comparable, but in the same ballpark?
Well, I would compare it to a non-peated Scotch, and there's certainly a lot of them out there like that. Off the top of my mind, I don't think I would. I don't want to throw any out there or lead the witness, because I think it's pretty unique to us. A lot of people are describing our single malt as a bourbon drinker's single malt, which I think is a pretty cool description. Cool. Our single malt, there's a barrel shop or a liquor shop in just south of St. Louis in Arnold, Missouri, called the ABV Bottle Shop. They only do single barrel picks, and I think they're up to about 150 now. And when they get a single barrel pick in, they have a tasting syndicate that rates the barrels. And our single malt has been rated the highest barrel they've ever had in the shop. So
wow,
that's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's awesome. So, yeah,
we'll take it.
It's right? Funny, like Mario and I's kind of journey started. You know, we did a bunch of Scotch tastings back in the day, and you know, like some Scotches, you know, like the typical like Balvenie double wood, and you get into the Macallans, and we did a ski share house, and we used to only drink bourbons. And the owner of the house brought a 30-year Macallan over because it was gifted to him. This is at least 10 years ago. And he's like, yeah, my mom tried it. She didn't like it and poured it down the sink.
Come on.
I'm like, did you put her in the garbage disposal? Like that's, and I mean, what's a bottle going for? $5,000 now?
Oh my
Macallan 30, something like that. I mean, it was amazing. They gave us like the tiniest little sample, but it was, I mean, a journey. It took you right. It was wonderful.
That's hilarious.
Trying bourbons and whiskeys. That was kind of, I think that's when I visited the shop in Vail, and it was kind of like, hey, this is right in my wheelhouse. Let's start trying some of these out. See which I like, which I don't.
Right. Absolutely.
Because it's one of those things. I'm very like, I don't know. People will say, oh, this is a really good one. And I try it. I'm like, not my favorite, but you kind of like what you like, right?
Sure. You know, it's funny. It's I've never come whiskey. I've just come across some whiskeys I like better than others.
Yeah.
That's all there's to it.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Right? Yeah. Pretty simple, right?
Exactly.
Gravitate to those ones you like. I mean,
right.
So I think at this point we should probably start tasting something. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
All right. Where do you want us to go on this journey? How do you want to do this?
Let's remind me what couple samples you have there.
We got the bourbon.
Yeah.
We got the rye.
Yeah.
And then there's like a mystery bottle.
Yeah, and that's the single malt.
Oh, awesome.
Nice. And it's a mystery bottle because, like I just alluded to, we've just started distribution with it. It's been in our 750 mils, but we have yet to, we just for our 50 mils. So we don't even have the 50 mils in house yet. So that's why that bottle is a mystery bottle. But it's
gonna be like a Bugs Bunny. They're gonna have like 3 X's on there.
Exactly.
Hey, all I know is I'm glad that they're still here because my wife and we drink bourbon almost every night. Just a little nightcap, and I did hide them from her. I had to. I was like, I can't take the chance of her saying, "Hey, those are really good. Thanks, honey."
Totally right.
My Christmas present came
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, so Ryan sent these out a few weeks ago. Mario got his about 2 weeks ago. Mine came 3 days ago because it was stuck in purgatory in Trenton, New Jersey. So
They were deciding whether or not to liberate it or not.
I don't know what happened. I know it fell off a truck. It happens here in Jersey.
Just saying.
Well, yeah.
The same.
Start with the bourbon there, guys.
Bourbon?
And then we'll
All
do
right,
the
awesome.
rye and then finish with the single malt.
Right. And thank you again for sending
Of
these
course,
over.
of course, of course.
Yeah, thanks a million.
All right, bourbon time.
We have and are enthusiastic about similar hobbies here. So
Ha.
Yeah.
I need new glasses. Mine are cracked. That's not good. That's all right.
To get my fancy Waterford crystal
yeah,
ones.
man, that is fancy.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, before we got married, I was like, I think I was watching HSN for some weird reason. I was flipping through the channels and I saw this decanter set with Waterford. And I was like, you know, how about that as a Christmas gift to you, honey? And she's like, yeah, that sounds good. And then I knew I was doing the right thing.
Her. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So we're at aged 1 year and we got 46%
And
ABV.
that's that 1 year is actually, it's all 2 year and above. That
Okay.
is, we just redid those labels in the single malt as well. So,
Okay.
but it's all 2 year and above is what we're doing now. And there's some 3 and 4 year in there too. Again, the TTB requires us to disclose the youngest that's in the bottle, which is a 2 year.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. It's hot.
It's hot on the front, but then it mellows out.
But
Yeah,
it's smooth.
Nice.
I gotta
Yeah.
say, it's
92
smooth as
proof.
anything.
Yeah.
For 92
aged
proof,
in
it's not burning, you know, like
Yeah, exactly. Right.
like a Booker's or something gives me that burn after. And this is really nice. I like this a lot.
Yeah, this is really tasty. Getting a little bit of honey in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of that vanilla.
Vanilla. Yeah.
75 corn, 21% rye, and 4% malt. Aged
This is
in a
freaking
number 4
delicious.
char barrel. Obviously a new American oak barrel, right?
Yeah. So
Hitting on a couple of the requirements to make it a bourbon.
at least 50% corn mash, new unaged oak barrels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And made in
51%
America.
to your point. The majority grain has to be corn. Asian
And
American.
that's the bourbon classification, right? To make
Yeah,
it
exactly.
bourbon.
You got it, Mario. And it has to something that a lot of this is 2 year, at least a minimum of 2 year. But a lot of people are like, oh, it has to be a 4 year. Oh, whatever. Bourbon, the requirement from the TTB, it has to age in an American new oak barrel for some amount of time. That's what it states, right? It could be a minute, could be a week, could be ain't gonna do much if it's that short amount of time. But it checks the box, certainly. So
now I know a lot of distilleries we're seeing you know, they'll come out with their bourbon and then they start coming out with like a 10 year or something like that. Any plans to do something like that? And that's a matter of just aging it for a lot longer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so we distill, we mature, we bottle, label everything in house. And so we certainly have a couple of things lying down that are a bit older. And if you come back to our tasting rooms, or if you come into our tasting rooms and ask the guys behind the bar if they got anything quote special back there, there's a good chance they'll pull something out. But
that's not for everybody else. That's just for Brian and I, right?
We'll edit that part of the podcast out.
You got it. Yeah, it's podcast hosts. And so certainly usually have a couple of additional items, the tasting rooms, but yeah, we are lining things down. But again, it's a tricky business because it's supply, demand, and cash flow. And you got to balance all that out, right?
Are you going to save it, or are you going to just sell it if it's, you know, like it's kind of an investment forward.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so we're growing. We continue to grow, even though some of the headwinds have changed a little bit this past year within the industry, but we're still growing and heading in the right direction. But we're growing at the proper pace, and don't necessarily want to become an overnight success because then we'd run out of whiskey, and then who knows what I'd have to do. So
what do you think is one of the hindrances to like the industry? Because I know you guys have headwinds and there's all regulatory and there's a lot of things going on. I mean, there's a lot that you have to do to even put your product on the shelf that people don't realize. But what is like one or two of the things that you would love to see get better in the industry or change for you guys?
Mario, the thing I've been beating my drum for the last 7 years, even pre-COVID, but it's certainly the spotlight shine upon it since COVID days, is direct to consumer.
Yeah,
right. That's our biggest thing. We can sell direct to consumer to consumers in 40 different states, roughly, and it is our spirits. However, we have to use a third-party fulfillment company, a middleman per se. They're out of Washington, D.C. So we ship out.
So when you buy online on your website, that ships from them?
Yeah, it sure does. Exactly right. Some
Oh.
people pause. Now we have our email tracking and everything in place. And our thank you email explains exactly what I'm talking about here. It's illegal for us to ship it from the distillery.
Right.
I think there's 9 states currently where you can ship to reciprocal states that allow direct to consumer. Colorado's not one of them yet. But all of our industry organizations, American Distilling Institute, American Association, and Discus, are all behind changing these antiquated liquor laws. You've been able to buy wine direct to consumer for 18, 20 years or something now. And so it's kind of ridiculous that you can't send a bottle of your favorite whiskey to your buddy across the country.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. People don't realize, like, so when we were in New Jersey, there's this brewery, and it was just beer. But there's this brewery, and the brewer was adamant, like, about changing the laws. Now, way back, I didn't realize this until I went to the brewery, that the laws in New Jersey were governed under Department of Taxation. And then they weren't allowed to sell direct to consumer. They can only do like tastings, and then wineries could always do direct to consumer. So it was like this weird like way that the government like got set up around it, and it was inhibiting until they changed the law. It really started blossoming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. Kind of to that point, the United States Postal Service is not in the best financial position these days. And so there's a lot of talk about allowing alcohol to be shipped through the USPS, because just based on the amount that they're going to make from that could change the tide for them. There's certainly more and more talk about it. It's been a hot item since COVID, and direct to consumer obviously shot through the roof during those times. And so some states are falling in line, but we still have a long way to go. And so as you can imagine, having to use a third-party fulfillment company, too, they needed to take their cut and stay in business, and they provide a good service for us. We lose a decent percentage points to those guys, and we'd love to sell in-house. But if you go on our website right now and you buy a bottle of bourbon and you buy a ball cap coming from DC, from us to DC to you, and our ball cap's going from our distillery straight to you, so you're going to get 2 different packages, which really confusing for a lot of people. But if you go to shipmyspirits.org, that's the website that the organizations have put together for consumers to wrap their head around this idea and see how they can support it. But that's the biggest challenge, Mario, is getting that DTC to fall in line and be treated equally to the wine industry. So,
and does this fall under the ATF?
Yeah, it does. Exactly. Well, the tax and trade, it's actually a state thing. I don't Bureau of the ATF, I think, is what you're alluding to, Brian.
Yeah.
I don't think it falls under them. I'm pretty sure it's
a state jurisdiction, because of Colorado doesn't allow the shipping direct. So it's a Colorado law that has to change.
Yeah. And it's the majority of states that have to change. The 9 of them have changed so far. So we're what, 20% of the way there? Almost.
I'm in Florida. Right? I think you can do whatever you want.
Amen, right?
Amen. I think you ship anything here.
Guns in the mail to each other, right?
Ship it. You just give it to the post office guy, and he just delivers it to your house.
There you go.
And to the state of Colorado, to give them some kudos as well. Our tasting rooms, we're not regulated. Some states you can only give samples total, and then maybe the consumer can only buy a bottle or 2 bottles or 6 bottles, or whatever it is. State of Colorado is, we can't get them wasted and drunk and send them out the door. Wants to come in and enjoy 2 or 3 cocktails and watch an acoustic guy on. I'm going to hang out for a while and then watch the parade of skiers coming and going. Welcome to do that. And then if they want to buy a case or 2 cases and walk out the door with it, they're welcome to do that as well. And that happens often at our tasting rooms. So, and we can also self-distribute here in the state. So we self-distribute in the to bars and restaurants and liquor stores. The majority of our whole team has been here for 15, 20 years. So it's a small ski town, so everyone knows everybody. And so we self-distribute here in our backyard, and then we have we self-distribute across the state. But we just do it in our backyard, then use a third-party distributor around the rest of the state. But
we could have a Ski Bone Podcast Snowcat that we could distribute with you. And
absolutely, man. Now we're talking, right? Now
podcast and Snowcat around the area and just ski and distribute whiskey
like bourbon claws.
During quarantine times, and some of the alcohol laws were being loosened to help keep us kind of folk in business. And I had always had an idea of doing an adult ice cream truck.
Nice.
And so we have a fully wrapped Toyota Tundra. Stands out going up and down I-70. A lot of people recognize it. So we ended up converting that into a quote, an adult ice cream truck. And for about 2 weeks there, we got away with going around the neighborhoods, playing ice cream music, and selling cocktails off the tailgate, which was a hell of a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
And then the state called me up and said that's really not in the spirit of the new loosening of the laws, and I needed to stop. So I had to stop.
Better ask forgiveness than
exactly
permission, right?
From my cold dead hand.
Right, totally. And I was like, and then I got a call from the local sheriff too, and we're buddies. And he's like, Ryan, the state told me we had to pull you over if we see you down. Sheriff, we'll stop.
Then
like,
don't
I hate
see
this
me.
phone call. I don't want to do it, but we got to.
Then don't see me.
Yeah,
You know, I could see a snow cone with the cordial on it.
Right.
That
Totally,
sounds
right.
yummy.
See,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I just got one of those Ninja Creamies, so I'm just starting to get ideas now about how I can upgrade my my ice cream that I'm making at home now. A little bit of bourbon in there, and yeah, we're in business.
Well, we are not tasting our cordial, but it does go great over ice cream in a hot chocolate or coffee as well. So,
I like that.
Sounds pretty good. Sage, peach, and vanilla.
Yeah, it's delicious.
So I'm a quick question, flashing back. So you said 75% corn in the bourbon,
21% rye, 4% malted barley, and we're open about our mash bill. We have a 500-gallon combination pot column still. You could take our exact setup. You could take our mash bill and start it in Florida, or do the same thing in Jersey, wherever. It's the whiskey.
Nope, you froze up again real
It would
quick.
be close, but it's not going to be exact. So we're like, screw it. And we've even had other distilleries, guys and gals that start distilleries come in our distillery and hang out for a day or two at a time and learn what they can. And hell, we're an open. This is what we're doing. This is how we do it. Good luck to you. So,
nice. How long did that take to dial in that formula? That 75-21-4.
Well, on our bourbon specifically, it's been that way since day one. But we went out to Moonshine University, and from there, one of the biggest benefits of Moon U was some of the relationships that we had built with the instructors that have been in the 45, 50 years. And so we were talking to one of the instructors that had worked for a bunch of the big guys over his career, and we're like, "Hey, we're like this," and so he kind of directed us to what direction we wanted to be going. Over probably the first 5 years, we narrowed in more and more on exactly what we were looking for. And that was from a lot of feedback, too, we got from our consumers at our tasting rooms. And so our rye is a little bit lower rye than a lot of ryes out there, but that's the reason we got just the feedback we were getting. So we were kind of modifying that our first 5 years, but we haven't changed that probably for 5 years now either. So,
okay. Speaking of rye, I think I'm going to try
Let's do it, right?
rye.
Yep.
Yeah, the bourbon was excellent.
Yeah, that was... And I saved a little for my wife so she could try it.
Designs on the bourbon bottle. Certainly our silhouette soldier is an ode to the mountain soldier, the 10th mountain. On our bottle as well, it has drink to glory, awesome. Which is the 10th mountain has climbed to glory. To the top has always been their saying. So we like to say drink to glory to the bottom. And so it's just a little fun nod to them. On our rye bottle has the dog tag, which kind of speaks for itself. That has the batch and the bottle date. If it's a 750, you guys don't have the dog tag on your 50 mils there. And then a couple skis. A lot of people think it's a whiskey barrel on the bottle, but it's a powder keg that the 10th Mountain kept their gunpowder in World War II. Very similar to a whiskey barrel. Our rye bottle has a toast on it from Mountains of Shining Shore. By freedom they always swore, though death did not cheat them, they bestowed us a freedom and a whiskey worth fighting for. So there's a couple of good things going on there. And then our on the ball cap, the squiggly line, it's not just some random mountain. It is actually the top of Riva Ridge, which was a significant battle that the 10th won over in Italy when they broke through the Gothic line and kicked the Nazis' ass. So,
wow, that's awesome.
So some packaging influences going on there too.
I love that.
A lot of the rides that went into your brand, which is really nice.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. Appreciate that. Certainly something we said if we were going to put the name 10th Mountain on it, we're not just representing us, but we're representing a whole mountain division and want to make sure every decision that we make shines the proper light on them and honors them and their legacy. So it's something we're very conscious of. So Rise 86. What do you think?
Very smooth.
I could definitely taste the spiciness. A little more spicy compared to the bourbon.
100%, right? We like to say it's rye bread versus cornbread, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We got to put in layman's terms. So the spiciness from a piece of rye bread or rye toast compared to a piece of cornbread, which bourbon is a majority corn, so it's rye bread versus cornbread. So
a little less sweet too than the bourbon. But a lot of flavor.
Tastes a little more oaky too.
Yeah, the oak.
Very good.
And speaking of the cordial, about 70% rye and 30% cordial makes a fantastic cocktail as well. So keep that in mind when you get a bottle of cordial around.
30% rye, you said?
70% rye, 30% cordial.
Does it have a name?
We call it the Kuwar combo.
Kuwar combo?
Yeah.
Nice. I like that. That'll be good outpray drink.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're in a place that has both the rye and the cordial, then that's a great way to go. So
it's kind of like a kind of
a,
sort of a spin on a Manhattan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's better.
Better.
Exactly.
Like a Manhattan, only better because it's about the mountains.
Yes, exactly. No traffic.
86 proof is this guy. So again, it's just kind of personal preference. Early, and it's always been 86 proof. Bourbon's always been 92 proof. Our single malt's always been 90 proof. So again, that's just personal preference. Our head distiller Sean Hogan, he and I just going back and forth and taste testing a couple things. So then that's what people think. That's all we do every day, right? Is sit around, drink whiskey, and bullshit. But
I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be quite as successful if that's what you were actually doing.
There's a hell of a lot more that goes into it than that.
There's also skiing in the morning, right?
We got actually certainly. Yeah, absolutely.
It's part of the mantra. You got to.
We're just checking the snowpack. This eventually is going to end up in our whiskey, so we got to make sure that
absolutely. Good. And we, it's something that obviously we're all about the skiing lifestyle and encourage people to get on the mountain, get in the mountains and play. And so all of our employees get a ski pass as well on the house. So we love it when when our guys call me up and say, we're taking the morning off. And we got 10 inches or 12 inches last night. I'm like, great, I'll see you up there.
Yeah. Right. This is the way to do it.
Let's come and visit the tasting rooms and the distillery.
One more time.
Do you get a lot of vets that come in and visit? Just
we do, right? And so we love that aspect when vets come in, sit down. We often hear that they never thought they would be finding a place like our tasting room in Vail Village, and then oftentimes it just becomes their home away from home while they're out here on vacation.
That's awesome.
And there's some camaraderie that'll be built. The table next to them might be another veteran. They'll start swapping stories, and before you know it, there's a great connection built, and they're friends for life, which is what our tasting room's all about, which is what whiskey's all about, we think. And so one of our guys, one of our veterans on our team, his saying is, we're the closest thing to a VFW you're going to get in Vail. So
nice.
Come inside, hang out, and relax, and enjoy yourself. So,
I was just thinking that it was like an upscale VFW in the mountains.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. No, we love it when any branches, any veterans from any branches come in, hang out with us.
So now I know
except the Navy. Screw those guys.
Hey.
We do get a lot of support from the SEALs, so careful there.
Seriously, that was Mario.
Depends if the Army Navy game is on right then. Then it's a battle.
Yeah. We always get a group of about 25 guys, 30 guys that come in for the Army Navy game, and
that's cool.
They've already called in advance to make sure they have their reserve spot waiting for them in a couple of weeks. So it's always a fun afternoon.
So now I have. Now I mentioned earlier on that we had some ideas, and I know like Jefferson, they have that Aged at the Ocean series that they've done.
I love where this might be going, Brian. Let's hear it.
All right. So have you thought of doing like putting a barrel in a gondola and aging it in a
chairlift
gondola?
aged, right? Chairlift aged.
Chairlift aged, right?
Yep, exactly.
Glacier.
I bounced that idea
Glacier
off
aged.
of Vail Resorts management a couple years back. They loved the idea. It's not going to happen in the wintertime because chairlifts are prime real estate, obviously. The thought is we might be able to do it in the summertime.
Okay.
A lot less chairlift rides in the summertime, and probably better in the summertime anyways, just because of the temperature and whatnot. And so
how about at the top of the lift house on the roof? Just
Yeah,
leave it up
exactly.
there.
Right.
you go.
Exactly.
It's kind of part of the lift, but kind of just staying up there.
Totally right. Well, I love the chairlift idea because you're changing altitude and the pressure. And I think that would encourage the whiskey. Again, going back to the whiskey taking a breath, I think it would probably take a breath every time it goes up and down, just depending on how big the elevation change was on the chairlift.
I had a perfect solution. Snowcats.
Yeah, right. Totally.
Throw it in the
Put
back
on
of
the
a
snowcats
snowcat
at night.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good idea too.
Right.
The snowcat idea. I had thought about the chairlift. I had not thought about the snowcat.
Because the
Snowcat
snowcat,
bourbon.
percentage-wise
Oh.
of the weight, really wasn't that much of a difference, you know?
I've known a couple of those snowcat drivers, man. I don't know if there'd be anything left in the barrel at the end of the night.
Touche. Yeah. You need a
It's cold out.
maybe have a vet on there to guard it.
Yeah, right. There you go. That'd be sweet.
Again, SEALs helping out.
Right?
Totally, man. I like that. Right. Absolutely.
All right.
So I love that idea. One way or the other, it opens up Vail Resorts to some liability. We did a 6-year anniversary whiskey with Vail for their 6-year anniversary 2 years ago now. Did a special barrel pick with them that they sold in their cocktails on Mountain, which was a lot of fun. So we have a great relationship with Vail Resorts. So who knows down the line, maybe we do a chairlift age something or other, or a snowcat age something or other.
Like
How
that.
about the hazmat
Or if there's a
barrels?
if someone owns a private chairlift out there that wants to reach out, we'd love to put a barrel of whiskey on it. And then I'm sure there'd be something in it for you as well. So reach out to us, would you?
Yeah.
How about the hazmat barrels, a special forces version of the whiskey? Right?
Yes, exactly.
Branded
And
The
we do
Navy
special
SEAL
forces.
version of it.
Yeah, we do a lot of barrel picks with different military organizations, and we'll send them 3 different proofs from 3 different barrels per sample set. So 9 samples per set, and usually 3 to 5 sets for their tasting panel. And it's up to them as to what proof they choose, and it's all blind, right? So they'll taste through the 9 different samples. And I like sample B. What is that? Oh, hey, that's a 3-year 115 proof bourbon. But sometimes they'll choose 125 or 130 proof. So we do a lot of work with different military nonprofits, and it's a fun way to, it's a win-win-win for their organization, for our organization, and for the consumer as well. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
All right. Another idea. Have you talked to any ski manufacturers about having a clear top coat with some whiskey in the ski?
no,
Like a whiskey channel.
I have not.
As you're making your turns, you can kind of see the way the whiskey is kind of going through the channel.
It's kind of like a level, right? You have that bubble in the middle on a level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only
know,
thing is
because
you got to be able to drink it at some point.
How many
and refill it.
G-forces can you pull? You know,
there's something along those lines. Have you guys seen the whiskey poles?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So the ski pole is basically a flask, which I think is a brilliant idea. We saw them at our tasting rooms for a year. I can't believe they didn't sell well because I absolutely loved them.
It's a no-brainer.
Right?
How about
Isn't it?
goggles? You fill up the goggles and you just leave a little and you throw it down. Whiskey goggles.
A couple of straws coming out of the goggles.
Yeah, right. Just going back to the old hard hat with the cans on the side, right?
Not hiding a thing. Just bam, right on top.
Yeah.
Big bottle.
Whiskey channel. All right. And then kind of the same, but the different. How about, has anyone used from previously used whiskey barrels, the wood in the skis?
No, but that's a brilliant idea. So
All right.
we
Or snowboard.
we know those guys over at Breckenridge from RMU, Rocky Mountain Underground, and then also a couple of the ski makers down on the Front Range. So, and we've done a couple collaborations with them, but man, I don't know. With could we use
You forget
the
bamboo.
oak
Let's use
barrels?
oak. Spent oak. Why
Who
not?
could stop you? Maybe that's like the secret sauce.
Well, I'm
It
just
gets you
thinking.
better flex. You know.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
You never know.
I love that idea. I think that's cool. Some way or another,
Right?
use those in some skis, right?
Even if it's like a small sheet of it, on top, but just you can
Totally.
say that, this is like a 10th Mountain whiskey ski.
That
pretty
or
cool.
nunchucks. Nunchucks work too.
Okay, nunchucks could work, sure.
Nunchuck could definitely work.
You can sell those everywhere.
I did just drive by Chuck Norris's house this past Saturday. That was pretty cool.
Oh, I love that guy.
Ooh,
Yeah, just
Love
randomly.
that guy.
Sorry.
that's awesome.
So I did a post and it didn't get a lot of love, but I was like, Trump does his pick for chief of kicking ass, and it was Chuck Norris.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
What can't he do?
He had the Chuck Norris water that I got at Walmart, and I told Brian I drank it. I felt like kicking somebody's ass right then.
It's his watering facilities right across the street from his house. Right.
Oh,
across the
really?
street.
Awesome.
Yep. Drove by that too. Yeah.
Originally, it was in Florida, and it had to move itself up there. It moved towards Chuck. His
Yeah.
gravitational pull was so strong.
Exactly.
It moved itself.
Love it.
All right. I'm dipping into the single malt now.
Yeah.
Mario, are you there too?
I'm there too. I'm with you, brother.
I gotta tell you, this nose is unique.
Yeah.
Again, I was expecting more scotchy. I don't know. Again, I know it's wrong, but when you said it
Well,
before,
Brian,
single
I
malt
think
is Scotch.
a lot of consumers, when they hear single malt, that's exactly where their brain, their palate, their thoughts, that's exactly where it goes. So certainly you're in good company there. So
this has this is really interesting. I like it.
And this
Definitely
one,
nothing I was expecting.
Best in Show at the Key West International Spirits Awards last January. So there were about 100 whiskeys, double blind taste tested between a handful of knowledgeable consumers and distillers alike. And this actually had one Best in Show. So
I can barely describe it. That's the thing. Like, I don't have the right word. It's just, I
get unique. The nuttiness. Like it does have like a nut note in the nose and the palate, but it's just very interesting. Like
a fun way we'd like. Describe the distribution. It's like walking into an old hay barn with the tack room on the right with a bunch of leather tack on the right side. So that's a fun way that we like to describe it.
That's really a great description. Yeah, the hay, the leather. That's what I was saying. I couldn't describe it, but you saying it, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
That's so cool. Yeah.
So, and again, it's 100% malted barley is what we use here. So, and that's just 1 grain in it. So
that single malt's delicious.
So, yeah, thank you. 90
Fantastic.
proof.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, man. There's this big Key West competition. Yeah, get down.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I don't forget how many brands in it, but I know each brand usually enters a couple different types of whiskeys. And so,
are media folks like me allowed?
You're encouraged to go. Yes,
See,
I can get you in touch. I can get you in touch with the organization there.
Oh boy,
yeah, that'd be great.
They would love it.
Brian, you're coming down.
All right.
Yeah, Mario. Where in Florida are you? Remind me.
I'm in Clearwater.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
it's in Key West at the end of January.
Ooh.
I am slated to be there. I am slated to be there again this year. I have not yet booked my flight. I'm thinking about flying into Miami and driving down or something.
Fly to Clearwater. We could drive down together.
Shit, that might work too.
Or you can commandeer a boat and go due south.
I know that's kind of
right.
Do a little something.
You know, like you got a couple boat people, Mario.
This is pirate area. A boat. You got to pirate a boat and just take it. That's just what you do.
Exactly.
There's a ferry from Fort Myers. You can take go down to Fort Myers and then take the ferry, and it goes right down there. I think it's like 5 hours on the ferry.
Oh, wow, that's a cool way.
You look on the map; it's like directly south from like the Naples Fort Myers.
Otherwise, if you go to Miami, you got to go all that other way, like through the Keys.
Yeah,
it's pretty far.
Well, stay tuned on that. I'll get you hooked up with them.
And you remember True Lies? There's all kinds of stuff that blows up there on that road.
Yeah. Bloodline, everybody. There's a lot of murders there.
Crocodiles, all that stuff.
There are a couple distilleries to hit on the way down, which is kind of fun and unusual and unexpected.
Nice.
I forget the names of them, but I was down there 2 years ago or so and 3 years ago. And I was surprised to come across a couple distilleries.
Our own whiskey trail bus.
This sounds like the plot of a buddy comedy. I like this. I like where we're going with this.
It's like Euro Trip, but with bourbons and in Florida.
It's like Dumb and Dumber, like a couple things going on here. I like this.
What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Stories will be made. Tales.
Some colorful tuxedos. I could see this.
Mm-hmm.
Nice Hooters, Brian.
The owls. They're beautiful. All right, Ryan. So we've had you on for an hour. We know you're a busy guy. Can you tell us?
We can hang out all day.
can you tell us what is a day in the life of Ryan Thompson like in the winter? Say you got a foot of snow. What's your day like?
I'm definitely going skiing for 2 hours.
Nice.
First and foremost, that's a guarantee. And I will cancel meetings. I will cancel whatever. Certainly the local folk, if it's a meeting with them, everyone welcomes that early morning text or phone call. Yeah. So,
because if you don't, Chuck Norris is coming for you.
You're damn right. Exactly. You'll certainly find me on the hill for a couple hours in the morning till it's skied out. And then back in, if I'm in Vail Village, I'll stop by the tasting room, check in there, making sure everything's tracking well there. Those guys and gals probably got up early as well. Our tasting room doesn't open till 11 a.m. anyway, so it's easy enough for the openers there to get up and get a couple runs in.
Beautiful.
And then probably come back and I office either at the tasting room or at my house or at the distillery. Come back and get in front of my laptop and managing a number of different projects that we have going on. Certainly make a phone call to our distillers, make sure things are tracking right at the distillery. So we distill 4 days a week. Currently, we lie down, which yields about a barrel a day, roughly in the end. So we distill Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and we have 2 full-time distillers that manage all that. On Fridays, we barrel and clean and do any maintenance. Saturdays and Sundays, the guys take off. Our tasting room at the distillery is open 5 days a week from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Wednesdays at the distillery. But check in with them, make sure things are tracking right there. Make sure they don't need anything from me or vice versa. And then, it's a constant barrage of emails on the laptop. So it's a matter of where I want to handle those and how I want to keep things moving forward. But
a lot easier answering those emails after a couple of runs, though.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
A lot friendlier too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sure are.
And what's your favorite run at Vail?
Well, I'd have to go Riva Ridge, right? I mean, it'd be rude not to.
That's true.
On top of Riva Ridge. It's the longest run on the mountain. Named in honor of the 10th Mountain Army Division, Riva Ridge, which is the outline that's on my hat. That's on our logo. They're at the top of the mountain, kind of tucked into the trees a little bit. There's a plaque that is a nod to the 10th Mountain and gives a little history on the namesake of the run. And so, boy, if you catch Riva Ridge on a power day, that's a special run. So, nice. Or if you catch it on a groom day, it's a hell of a lot of fun as well. Otherwise, and they'll groom it. I think it's Friday mornings they groom it. I forget. There's a specific day. Otherwise,
do most of your workers call out on a powder day?
The distillers have a little tougher time doing that because we have a 6-day fermentation. If they don't get it distilled, then we're losing 500 gallons of whiskey per se. But a lot of certainly the guys that are able to that do most of the work on a laptop will. It's all known that we're going to see each other on the hill. So, and I've gotten zero problems with that. I encourage it. So
that's
beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, how can everyone get more information about 10th Mountain?
Certainly our website's 10thwhiskey.com. That's 10th whiskey with an E. That's a great jumping off point with everything. Direct to consumer to 40 states. Traditional distribution in about 20 states. We're active across all socials, and our social handle is 10th MTN Whiskey. I like to have a lot of fun on socials and even TikTok. But I tried to get our distillers to dance, but they wouldn't dance. So we just do more normal stuff on TikTok, but still have a lot of fun across all socials as well. So
awesome.
Hey, with AI now, you might be able to, get that a little.
Good point. Great point.
They will dance, but they won't be dancing. Yeah. Someone will dance.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Ryan. Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure. Mr. Ryan Thompson, CEO, 10th Mountain Whiskey, if you're out in Vail or Gypsum, check him out.
So, you got it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Let's make some runs and go enjoy some whiskey afterwards. Appreciate it.
I love it. Yeah, that sounds great.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Good one.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
We hope you all enjoyed that. If you want more information, we'll have links in the show notes. You can go to Ski Bum Podcast for that. Mario, it's Thanksgiving week, so I'm super excited. I'm thankful for a lot of stuff. I'm thankful for our podcast. I'm thankful for ski season. I don't know. Anything else you want to throw out? Any 2 cents?
There's a lot to be thankful. If you're struggling with stuff, we feel you. Take care of the people around you. Donate to the good charities that are out there and share the love. But there's a lot to be thankful for.
Stay positive. It's going to get better. Just hustle. grind.
There's a lot of people crying on Instagram these days, but you know what? We'll get all through this. It'll all be fine. Just buckle down, put your big boy or girl pants on. It's going to be fine. The world's going to be fine.
And if you are in need of some sort of guidance, not that I'm a guru or I'm really that much of a help, but I will say
you're like a life counselor, essentially.
Perhaps work hard, find something greater than yourself to dedicate your life to. I think those are two extremely important things. And just roll with it and realize that this is a precious gift we have, this life of ours. And you know,
limited time.
It's very limited time, and as hard as things may be, if you're listening to this podcast, you're doing better than probably 97.4% of people in the world. So you do you. You're doing great. Let's make this a great ski season. Thank you so much for listening. Check us out, skibumpodcast.com. Go to the socials, X, Instagram, Facebook, Untapped, YouTube, at Ski Bum Podcast. Send us an email, skibumpodcast@gmail.com. Be part of this. Support us. Grow with us. Patreon.com/skibumpodcast. Check it out. Also, if you're getting some gear, getting into better shape, 10,000.cc, use the code BSchneider15. Thank you again so much for listening. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy ski season. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Stay high, stay fluting.
See ya.